And now it's time for Talking Trade, sponsored by Michael Best Strategies and MMAC's World Trade Association. Today's guest is Pawan Banaga.
Welcome to Talking Trade. I'm Sandy Siegel, president of MEDAY.
And I'm Ken Waslick, Managing Director of EM Waslick Associates, an international business development firm. Sandy and I are really pleased that we have a great guest from India, Pawan Banaga, who is the managing principal of an Indo-Finnish management consulting company, Katsvu Consulting, based in New Delhi. He's also the Indian connection and partner of Asian Insiders, and Asian Insiders is a consulting group that assists global companies throughout Asia in a number of areas and industries. Pawan, you have excellent experience for over 33 decades, combined in industries, the Indian military, corporate management consulting, as well as in education, defense, automotive, and various manufacturing and infrastructure. So welcome to Talking Trade.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you for having me, and Sandy for having me on your show. It would be wonderful trying to showcase India on your show.
Well, great. So let's showcase. India has seen is on the rise, and as we look at the global economies in the various countries, we're seeing that India is rapidly expanding. Many here in North America see India as an alternative to Chinese manufacturing, as well as other industries. So how do you see the Indian economy development over the next 3 to 5 years?
Thank you, Ken. So you're absolutely right. The world is looking at India right now as an alternative to the giant earlier, China. Indian economy has proven to be remarkably resilient in the face of the headwinds that the world has been facing over the last so many years, recession, the war that is all going on. I'm sure India has been doing something well to be placed at the position that we are today. Before I can tell you what we are kind of going to be in the next few years, I must tell you what India is today. And the best way to do it is by telling you, our GDP today right now is about 3.5 trillion USD, which is the fifth largest economy in the world. The growth has been, right now it's as given by the IMF is about 6.7%. India used to be known for its agriculture earlier, but now if you look at the components of GDP, it is more to do with now services, which take up 54% of the GDP. The industry takes 28% and the agriculture comes to 18%. So India is on a track to become the world's third largest economy by 2027, surpassing Japan and Germany. And just to tell you, we may even have the third largest stock market by 2030. This is what the IMF and the World Bank reports have been saying. IMF says we are the fastest growing economy in the world, having clocked over the last decade a growth rate of about 5.5%, and for the next 5 years expected to be about 6.4%. We are, as per the estimates, also India is likely to double its current GDP from 3.5 trillion to 7.5 trillion by 2030. Now, why this is happening? There are three mega trends that we could talk of: global offshoring, digitalization, and engineering and energy transitions, which has set the pace for India for this unprecedented economic growth. The key pointers which are a boost in India's this growth journey are the India share of global manufacturing, expanding credit availability, creation of new businesses, improving the quality of life, and increased consumer spending. But when I talk of the three mega trends, let me just give you a brief of each one of this. Global offshoring. Companies across the world used to look at India for outsourcing services such as software development, BPOs, customer service, etc., since the early days of internet. However, with the current economic scenario, with tighter global labor markets, emergence of distributed work models, etc., this is bringing a new momentum in which India is being looked at the back office of the world, if I may say so.
Yeah.
We are also poised as the factory to the world. You know, with a strong government, with a large number of structural changes, economy structure, policy changes, labor law changes, investment, making the environment easier for the industries to operate, both Indian as well as foreign. So all these things are helping for driving the capital investments in manufacturing. And that makes me to say that we are also becoming the factory to the world.
Yeah. So from Wisconsin is very heavy manufacturing. That's a key industry in Wisconsin. And when there's development in manufacturing as well as other industries, I know personally, we have clients, Midwestern US companies that are eyeing India as a potential export market. Where do you see those opportunities for American exporters?
Absolutely. So that's a great question. Ken, Indian market with its nearly 1 billion plus population presents lucrative and diverse opportunities for the US exporters with the right product, mark my words, right services and commitment, which is very important when I've been dealing with a number of European companies, and these three words that I'm using, I use them with some conviction, that with the right product, right service, and the right commitment for the American industry. India's requirement, with the economy growing and all-round development taking place, with the economy growing, India's requirement for equipment and services for major sectors such as energy, environment, healthcare, high-tech, food and beverage, dairy, food processing, infrastructure, transportation, the field is wide open. There's a great opportunity for the US industry at this point of time. I forgot to add defense in that, because that's another major lucrative. Just yesterday, the US giant Boeing has just signed a huge contract with the Tatas for this. So I would just highlight few of the sunshine sectors that, in my opinion, which are important. I'll give you in a quick way, what are from which they were the opportunities for the US industries. Let's talk of pharmaceuticals. Pharmaceuticals, India is called the pharmacy of the world. We are third largest by volume, and 14th largest by value. 40% of the generics that you see on your shelves in the medical stores, they are all Indian. They are all from India. We have the highest number of US FDA compliant pharma plants outside of US. They are in India. Talk of biotech. Again, these are the things. We are again the top 12 destinations for biotechnology globally. We are valued at 70 billion USD in 2020. The government is really putting a lot of effort towards the biotech and the biosimilars. They have just opened a fund of funds, and this is where we have a big opportunity for the companies to come in. Medical devices, another market.
So you spoke about India being back office to the world, and I would agree, and that seems to continue to grow with tech workers and so forth, and involves less of the moving goods, and yet all these growing markets, which we've seen as brokers and forwarders. One of the challenges, obstacles, if you will, by comparison to China, is moving goods in and out of India, and transit times, availability, and some of the infrastructure. Can you speak to that at all, and what the government may be doing or is committed to doing in improving the rail system and the infrastructure within India to improve the movement of goods and the ease of moving goods in and out of India?
Yeah, exactly. So logistics is one of the biggest, because India being such large in length and breadth, in terms of climate, you from the mountains to the seas to the deserts to the rainforest, everything there, talking of I'll talk of the roads and highways. We have a network of about 6.2 million kilometers. And the way the progress of laying highways right now is India is laying about 37 kilometers of road per day. There's a massive push to infrastructure. There have been a huge allocation of nearly about 1.4 trillion US dollars for infrastructure between 2020 and 2025. The government is really pushing the roads, because and making the highways like that. Talking about railways, again, India has the 4th largest railway system in the world, just behind US, Russia, and China. You are the leaders in that, right? 126,000 kilometers of rail tracks, 7,000 approximately railway stations. Where the opportunity lies here is that we are really upgrading the technological infusion is such as signaling, telecom, etc., is hugely required. We also have a metro rail system which runs about 750 kilometers. So this is where the logistics is. When we talk of movement of goods taking place, again, I'm not even talking of the airways. Again, large number of airports.
Yes.
Name the airline in the world, they all are operating through India. For that. So that is as for the rails. And talk of ports again. So we have world-class ports again, which are handling large number of cargo coming in from the US as well as from the Middle East and from those areas and from Southeast Asia. India is doing very well to reduce all these bottlenecks. You also talked about what are the difficulties that the companies may be facing. Well, yes, there is a perception about India being difficult in terms of doing business, in terms of its red tapeism, or in terms of licenses, etc. Well, this used to be the case over the last 8 to 10 years. As I was saying earlier, there are a number of policy changes, structural reforms, etc. have been put into the place by the government so as to increase or to the ease of doing business in India, to attract investments and to attract foreign companies to do business with India. The government has also come up with something called as PLI, productivity linked incentive scheme, right? So in which is a company coming in, depending on the production, etc. There's a huge topic by itself, but there is large incentives for that, which involves tax breaks, easier loans, ease of availability of land, etc. in that.
Absolutely. Well, certainly we've seen a shift in as U.S. looks for options to trading with China and relying less on China and diversifying, both in terms of export and in terms of sourcing goods. And I actually would say, we don't find India difficult to work with. I think the biggest challenges historically, again, have been some of the movement of goods and lack of routine schedules at times and so forth. But having the government behind it obviously is a huge step in addressing those issues. So I can remember an Indian friend years ago in this industry who said, the difference between China and India and the pace at which we commit to some of this infrastructure is the difference between a dictatorship and a democracy, and how the goods are spent. So, but certainly it sounds like India recognizes the need for this and ultimately will help India grow and the market grow. So.
Yeah. I would add to that. I remember trying to establish a Indian business about 12 years ago. And I believe after 1 year of going through the process, my client gave up. But that's not the case, today, right?
Agreed.
Just the opposite is the case today. So.
Well, and I'm afraid we're out of time today, but exciting opportunities, it sounds like, in India, and look forward to see what lies ahead for all of us. Thank you for joining us on Talking Trade.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me on your show and having to put across Indian point of view. Of course, the time that we had is very little for really showcasing in India. So maybe we could have another time where you can talk about something much more about.
For detail.
Sounds great.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sandy.
Look forward to it.
You've been listening to Talking Trade, sponsored by MMAC's World Trade Association and Michael Best Strategies.